Hey guys, today I want to talk about the reasons we resist positive change. When you hear about positive change, it immediately sounds attractive because from an objective standpoint, you always want to improve your circumstances. In a way, you're listening to these videos to work on yourself. Whenever we hear self-improvement, we pick up the book, we listen to the podcast, but so often we stay in situations, be it a job, a relationship, a living situation, even a way of treating ourselves that are not serving us for so much longer than we should. From the outside looking in, these types of situations are super obvious. For example, when you have that friend, and I think we all have this friend, but that person that's staying in a terrible relationship. For example, let's name this person Hannah, because I don't have any friends named Hannah. So if I see Hannah, and for years she continues to fight with the person she's dating multiple times a week, every single time they're fighting, she calls to vent her frustration. Each fight is a big deal to her and completely disturbs her peace. The cycle continues. He'll ignore her, purposefully exclude her, whatever it is. You care about this person, so you take it seriously until she perks back up again when he reaches out and watches a movie with her or has dinner with her, rinse and repeat. And I say it like that because it's a cycle. So you're her friend and you watch her go through it until it's so painfully obvious that it's frustrating to you because it feels like she's choosing misery. And this is just an example. This could be your brother, this could be anyone. So often people choose to stay in what they know. We're gonna get into that a lot this episode. Watching this, you feel like your friend or your loved one is choosing to be miserable, and the painful truth is that they are. This Hannah is choosing misery, and she can't see it that way because her vantage point is skewed by fear of the unknown. She has completely adjusted to her reality, and even though it's suboptimal, she knows what to expect. Even though her day-to-day isn't satisfying, it's familiar, and that's comfortable for her. Let's turn it around because it's really easy to criticize others. If you were in her situation, would you end it immediately? If you were in love, would you be able to cut that tie? And I can tell you, I speak in a strong way and I know what I want, but from experience, it was a resounding no. It's so easy to advise our loved ones, and I think all of us give better advice than we accept because we all come from the same place of seeking security and familiarity to some extent. So even when our present situations are causing our discontentment, we prefer the familiar to the unfamiliar because we concentrate on what we might lose instead of what we stand to gain. I think that we have trouble thinking about what we could gain because we lack imagination. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but if you think about it, everything that you predict or that you imagine for your future is based on things you've already seen or experiences you've had or the people close to you have had. So it's hard to give up what you have because you don't have any way of knowing what you'll get in return. Even though a certain situation might suck in the present, it's hard to give it up when we don't know what we'll get in its place if we decide to let it go. And I always hear, specifically women in bad relationships, probably just because we talk about it more, but I hear them magnify the positive aspects and minimize the bad aspects because they need to be able to rationalize staying put. No one wants to sit with their friends and say, all of these terrible things are going on, and then say, but I'm gonna stay in it. So in order to make yourself able to go through the motions of every day and to feel okay about your choices, you have to frame them in a way that sounds like you're making a good choice. Whenever we're in bad situations, we nitpick the good things out of them when we're talking to other people so that we can make it seem like what we're doing is actually good for us and we can sleep at night, so to speak. In the example situation we've been working, this Hannah friend would say something like,
yeah, he ignored me for 2 weeks, but he sent me a meme that was so funny and he thought of me. He's so sweet. He's so thoughtful.
Moment of silence to roll my eyes, but we have to understand that someone in this situation is either afraid of being alone or of finding something worse. And the only way that she'll choose to let it go is when she realizes that there's actually nothing worse than chronic disappointment and volatility, because existing in that type of situation clips your wings. It holds you down and it limits your potential because you're wasting so much energy just dealing with every single day. I think the rock that fell on my head to make me change a job that wasn't working for me, a living situation I wasn't loving, and a relationship that had been toxic for a long time was the realization that I have one life. So when I moved here, I accepted a job that I thought was gonna be about 45 minutes outside of the city. So being that committal person I am, I didn't want to rent, I wanted to buy. And I bought a 1-bedroom condo for myself and ended up working quite far away from it. So I was living out in the suburbs when I'm such an urban person. I want to be where the action is. I was living in a beautiful place, but every single time I wanted to do something, I would drive into the city. I always felt like I was in a suburban area that didn't really match my lifestyle, but I felt stressed when I thought about dealing with real estate agents. I don't really like dealing with salespeople. I feel like their interests and mine conflict, and putting my house on the market. There's so much that goes with that you have to learn. I was stressed about it. I was stressed about putting my stuff in storage, about being in transition, about finding a new place. I was stressed for so many reasons that I just stayed where I was for years. And with my job, I wasn't loving my day-to-day, and I didn't take a step to change that because I pictured having to apply for jobs that involves rejection and interviewing. And the thing is, I'm not lazy. Like, I'm so not lazy that I do these videos for fun. I think it's all the anxiety around it. I knew that every single morning I could wake up and go into this job and I'm not gonna enjoy it, but at least I know that it's there for me, and I know that I have security, and there might not be a few weeks or a month where I'm not getting a paycheck. I just needed that stability. So I stayed for years. And for the job, I never even ended up interviewing. I ended up getting recruited off of LinkedIn, a bit redirecting the work that I'm doing, but now I'm doing work that's more in the direction that my field is moving. I think it was the natural course for me. It was the evolution that needed to happen. But had I been too reluctant to be uncomfortable and learn a different part of my field and push the envelope a little bit, I would still be day-to-day doing something that didn't really have room for upward mobility for me. I would have hit a ceiling and not been able to move up anymore. As for the relationship aspect, I was never afraid to be alone, but I was afraid of the discomfort that would come with transition. I didn't want to hurt anyone, and every time I thought about ending things, I was paralyzed by anxiety, picturing that actual traumatic breakup event. And I would picture the day of the breakup, the hour of the breakup, instead of the months and years after it, where I would be unburdened by being out of a hurtful cycle. The final analogy that I gave myself was, I need to let this one cinder block fall on my head today instead of letting one tiny brick fall, and that was still hurt, but a tiny brick fall on my head every day for the rest of my life. Again, this is metaphorical. I'm not a sadist or a masochist or whichever one is the one where people hurt themselves. I don't want anything falling on my head. I just meant that I need to toughen up and tolerate one huge, big pain. Discomfort is too weak of a word. It's pain in the present, instead of 1,000 smaller pains that would come with allowing the situations to continue indefinitely. What's more is I knew that I was too strong to keep going against my beliefs and letting my fear of change control me. When my friends would check in, I would find it hard to believe my own excuses. You know, when you're really bothered by something and you call a friend to vent or a family member and you tell them everything you're feeling, well, I try to practice what I preach. So I always say, if you complain about something, do something about it. And with respect to that, I feel bad complaining about something twice. So once you've said this relationship is doomed, or you've said, I can't stay on this job, I'm so unhappy, this happened, whatever. If you tell someone that and then they check in with you and you haven't changed anything, they're gonna ask, what's your excuse? And I didn't have any excuses. I was all out of them. I would find myself screening calls from people I care about because I couldn't face them and tell them, yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, this is still happening, because I knew it needed to change, and I just emotionally wasn't ready to force that change. And that was on me. I just realized one day that my time is limited, and my time to be young and carve my own path is passing by faster than I thought it would. I'm not saying I'm old, but I moved here at 20 years old and I blinked, and I'm 26. And these are the years where your roots are shallow. You haven't made that many decisions that determine your future because you don't have that much history. So the thing about being young is that you make decisions that direct the path for all your years yet to come. And I couldn't keep making decisions that I know don't reflect the future I want to have. I wanted to just wake up in a situation that makes me feel right with the way that I think, with the way that I feel in every single way. And I knew that each day I chose to stay in a reality that was disappointing to me was just that. It was a choice. This was especially difficult for me because I love security, I love guarantees, I love knowing what to expect. I am the quintessential Taurus personality. I like just knowing that something is for sure. So even if I don't enjoy my job, I want to know that there won't be a single week I go without a paycheck. I want to know that there won't be a day where I wake up and I don't know what to do with myself. I don't want to have to face that insecurity of transition, and facing my fear of the unknown was terrifying. It took so much patience and I felt very insecure for a while, but I did it, and it's never been easier for me to put my head on the pillow at night and know that I'm where I should be and with who I should be. I flipped my life upside down, and for the first time in 4 or 5 years, I feel like I'm really being true to myself. That doesn't mean I have it figured out, and that doesn't mean everything is perfect, but it means that the decisions I'm making are not actively contradicting my most deeply held beliefs about who I am. So the call to action of this video is, I want us all to work on our mentalities. I want us to dig deep and ask what we're holding on to just because we don't know what we'll get in its place. If you thought of a single thing when I asked that, ask yourself, what could you gain if you let that thing go? And the chances are, if you're even considering letting it go, or that first thing that popped in your head when I asked the question, that's probably the thing that's not best for you, or the area that could be improved upon. And you need to ask yourself, why are you wasting time continuing to do it when something else could be waiting for you? And not knowing what that thing is shouldn't deter you, because the worst thing you could do is look back and regret not taking a chance. So if that thing is shareable, please let me know in the comments below. If it's not and you wish to share, please text a friend or send me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. My email address is yaels360glowup@gmail.com. I think the most important thing about this is speak that thing into existence so that the people around you will hold you accountable. Call someone, the person who you know is the most persistent, maybe it's your mom, maybe a friend. Call them and tell them this part of your life is making you unhappy, and give them the reason. And now that you've spoken it, that's a commitment device for you, so that hopefully that person will come back to you and say, so what are you doing about it? And don't screen their call, pick it up. That's the thing you need to work on, and it might not be today and it might not be tomorrow, but the sooner the better. I hope this talk was helpful to you all. This is a talk I definitely needed to hear way before, now that I'm finally ready to hear it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, because there will absolutely be more girl talk to come soon. Bye for now.